Hello. I hope you all had a great Christmas. Just went by. People say, "How was your Christmas?" And in a way, I don't even know what to say because it's kind of for me it was I don't know. Christmas was a nice time. I get to spend some time with family, and but it's always a nice time. I don't see that they're all good days. I know that might sound a little silly, but they're all good days, and Christmas was one of them, but I just was thinking to share with you, I started this out with a little caption that said, man makes plans and God smiles, and and yet there are some plans, and I'm gonna just chat about them a bit. I mentioned even in my note, I don't know if you saw it, but I was going to talk a little bit about love life as well. I'm going to save that till the end. You want to hear about that? And but there's things happening. I went this fall and took a program that got me kind of certified as a recovery coach, and I did it. I mean, I've been really been recovery coaching for many years, and but I went to get certified so that I've run into people over the years that um, it's hard for them to see the value in the information unless they're paying for it, and they want to pay for it. It gives I feel like they're more involved if they pay for it, or I don't know what it is, but so recovery coaching is something that's the door is open for that, and I took this amazing course. I some new friends that Shelley and Kevin, and they have a little company called Still Here in Vancouver, and they're training recovery coaches. And I'm actually trying to inspire some of my friends here to go and take this program, because there's so many of us that could make a big difference. So I discovered with recovery coaching is that there's this kind of this gap. There's millions of people dealing with addiction, and many of them don't make it to the 12 steps. And so, where I've spent most of my adult life has been in the 12 steps, but I've also investigated a lot of other modalities. I've, looked at a lot of other spiritual practices. I've looked at different therapies. I've really done a lot personally to heal this, and because this needed healing, and to expand this and open this, and me, whatever me is, so there's this gap, between the 12-step world and what I call, say, the treatment center world, or the therapist world, or the counselor world, and it seems that this recovery coaching can kind of come up the middle. It's a big space, really, that allows for people to, as a coach, I can be a resource, a guide, and help people to answer some questions about themselves and about recovery, and about what would be the best program for them, and lots of different things that lift our consciousness can help. There's I know at one time I used to think there was only kind of one way, but there are many roads to Rome, and so I'm enjoying the recovery coaching. I've got a couple of clients that just came out of nowhere. Do you know how that where nowhere is? Neither do I, but they seem to come out of nowhere, and I'm happy to have them. And so if you maybe share the word around a bit, I don't plan to advertise. So if but I'm open to do that recovery coaching thing, and if anybody's if you know anybody. So that's the recovery coaching thing. The other thing, that's my plan for the next, I don't know, hopefully next 20 years to do that, to be there in that capacity. That doesn't mean that I'm not still sponsoring people in the 12-step world, because I am, and we'll continue to do that. But the other thing that I'm doing, that's come to me to do, that's just amazing, it's turned out to be just really something. I'm going to tell you about it. I'm creating a program or a course for dads in recovery. Okay, so dads in recovery or recovering fathers, and it's something that's really personal for me. When you look at it, it really is personal for me. I when I first when I first sobered up, when I first got in recovery, I was very young. I was like 25, and one of the motivators for me, all those years ago, was that I had a little girl who was 6 months old, and holy Toledo! I mean, I was. If you'd have looked at me at 25 and knew the details, you would have thought, who picked this guy to be a dad? I had no skills, no education. I was a lunatic, and I glamorized the criminal world. I was. I won't go into details about how deep I was in that community, but deep, and so I wasn't the best pick to be a dad. But I woke up this one morning and it was like, holy shit, all of a sudden. My values were, my Harley Davidson was kind of first, and the boys were next, and then, the whatever I was doing for a living at the time that I don't want to talk about so much right now was kind of third, and then this gal that I'd married or was dating was somewhere at 4 or 5, right? I mean, that's where I was. I was 25 and grossly self-centered, and certainly, had no idea how to be a dad. And all of a sudden, this little bundle of joy, this little baby girl, jumped to the top of the list. She did. She jumped to the top of the list. It was like, oh my God, I was in so much trouble. And so that was, kind of the beginning of my story as a dad. And, it came to me at that time that probably I better change my lifestyle, And I had tried to quit using and drinking lots before. I was a good quitter, but I couldn't stay quit. That was my problem. I would quit, and I would swear off, and I would, be certain I was going to quit. And in my prayers, I would say, God, get me out of this one. I'll never drink again. And but it didn't work. And so, but all of a sudden, the motivation changed big time, and I actually started to do something around recovery. I started going to meetings. I started to really do some work, and I'm praying my ass off, actually. So the years have gone by, and being a father has been a big deal for me. It's really always had been, a big deal. So my first little girl came along, like I said, and I sobered up, and then she had a brother that, 3 years later, we didn't know. We thought we could, wow. When I look back on it, how naive we were. We thought we were being good parents, But we were, and I guess we were. But the key was we stayed sober. I did, and brother came along. And one of the things that I wanted to do, and you'll relate to this if you're listening to this and you're a dad, is I wanted to break the chain. I didn't want my kids to grow up and be an alcoholic or an addict, and that's been a theme through my whole life. I wanted to break the chain, and that at one level that has worked out. At one level that has worked out, and then I had a third son. I married a couple of times and divorced a couple of times. I'm not claiming that I was the best in a lot of areas, but being a dad, I think I showed up, and a third son. And the beautiful thing about my kids is that these days is that I have a relationship with them, and I know lots of men in recovery that don't. Lots of fathers that are that don't have a relationship with their kids. It's gone, and they're not happy about that. And so that's part of one of the motivators for me is to create this course is to help men realize their importance in the relationship, and to answer questions, to help them deal with their fears around being a dad. And a lot of us didn't have. So what I've started to do is I'm interviewing men right now, and I'd like, if you're one of these guys, I'm interviewing men right now to do like a 40-minute interview just to really find out all they want to tell me about their experience of being a father in recovery. So I want to interview 50 men, and I've interviewed 15 so far, but most of the men didn't have great relationships with their dads. That was one of the key factors. It wasn't a great relationship with their dad, and so we're going to go deep into all of this. I'm going to create this program. It's just and I feel inspired. The more men I interview, the more inspired I feel to do this. So this part of the plan for next year is to create this program and launch this thing and see if we can help a lot of men, and helping men who are fathers in recovery, I believe will help families, right? And to make, information available, to become a resource for books they can read and other courses they can take, and for us to support each other, so that's the deal. That's part of the plan for next year. What else did I say I wanted to talk about? Said I wanted to lose a few pounds. That's on my list for next year, is to lose a few pounds. The other thing is that I have a friend who lives in Mexico who's invited me down. I'm going to be a guest, so I'm off pretty quickly to Mexico for a month, and I have to get some dental work done. And so it's right now, with my current situation, unable to really afford dental work in Canada. Isn't that amazing? That here we live in this country, but dental work is out of reach for many people. So it's a bit out of reach for me at this moment, and the work that I need done. So I'm going to go to Mexico and stay as a guest with my friend, and he has a sailboat. We're going to sail a bit, and I'm going to get some dental work done. I'm pretty excited about that, and I'm meeting one of my sons down there. And then, I think the last thing I was going to talk about was love life. Did I say something about love life? I did. And so, what do I tell you about my love life? Well, I love you all. That seems to be it. So this last year has been amazing for me. Got to, be involved in lots of people's lives, and to be a good listener, and listening is loving, right? Love is an action word, and we buried some people this year, and I think some people found new beginnings in their life this last year, and hopefully that continues next year. So that's my love life. I love you guys. So thank you, and I'd love it if you subscribe on YouTube. We're building this channel, and if you're interested in this men's, recovery dads thing, let me know. Make a comment on it. Let me know. If you have somebody that that's a father in recovery that I could interview, let me know that. Okay, so that's it. I forgot to mention on Monday nights I do a meditation group in my house, and I'd love you to come and join us. Just a small group that we get together. So that's open. Oh, that's it. The adventure continues, right? Life is great. It really is. And without expectations, everything is amazing. And I'm so happy to be free of, just to be free. So I want to share that with you guys, and share it with as many as possible. Freedom is possible. And happy, joyous, and free. Okay, love you guys lots. There's the plan for the next year, and yet, like I say, man makes plans and God smiles. So I hope that the deal is service, 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 right? So how can we give back? How can we give back? How can we give back? Thy will, not my will. Just live in that prayer, and if that's not what's needed, I'll be, I'm on a need to know basis, so God will let me know, or higher power, or universal intelligence, or consciousness, whatever you want to call it, will let me know. But seems to be the possibility. Okay, love you lots. Love to hear how things are going for you. What are your plans for next year? Okay, bye.